Welcome back to Call of the Father. It's been a while. It's been about over 2.5 months since I did an episode, but I'm ready to do another one, and I hope that you really enjoy this. A lot of life has happened for me since the last episode, and I want to share some of that with you. I'm really excited about this podcast, even though it's been a while. A lot of things have been coming up in my heart and in my mind, and I really enjoy. I just enjoy this, and I feel like it's a calling, and it's healing to me to share my stories. And I've been told by people that it's healing to them to hear my stories, and that I really think I have a gift that when I tell stories, it puts people in a emotional state where their heart's open to growth. It encourages certain people to want to seek growth and healing and that personal growth mindset. So I hope that's you, and thanks for coming back and listening. Um, so in the last 3 months, let me do one thing here. Ignore. So in the last 3 months, a lot of things have happened, and a lot of growth has been. If you've heard my hallway analogy, I think I mentioned it in the last episode. I have that hallway analogy where you're cleaning out these rooms on either side of the hallway, and they're just stinky crap, and it's all stuff that I've created for me. It's all stuff in my life that I've been ashamed of and afraid to clear out. And then when I'm facing that hallway, it's the first one was I was petrified to even open the first door, and somehow, God helped me open that door, and I saw that it had all worked out. And then I opened the next door, and it got easier and easier. Eventually, you get to the end of that hallway, and you thinking that the doorway facing you is going to be the doorway to freedom, that you've done it, you've cleared out all this crap from your life, and you open this doorway and you're like, oh shit, like here's a whole other hallway. And that's leveling up. That's the actual level up, where you realize, okay, yeah, I'm past that hallway, but I got more shit to deal with here and grow from. And I really believe I've mentioned before where I believe that what you focus on, the universe mirrors back to you. God, if you will, it gets mirrored back to you. And when I've focused on healing, the the universe said, oh, you like to heal? Well, here's some more shit you need to heal from. And it could feel overwhelming, the initial, when you realize you got to level up here now. Anyway, the last 3 months have been, man, it may be an anomaly, but it's felt like this hallway has been harder than the last one. And I'm thankful for it. It's been there's been some painful things that have come up this last 3 months, things to face within myself. And I'm just at a point, I'm so thankful for the pain. I'm thankful for the growth and the healing that it's spurred in me. And I'm just thankful to have the mindset that I have to want to keep growing and healing. I'm so thankful. It makes me a little bit emotional thinking about some of the pain that I've faced in the last couple months. It's just facing yourself. And one of the things that's come up, one of the questions I've had for myself is, when I'm focused on healing and calling out my own bullshit, how do I still find a way to love myself when I see my own crap? It's like, it's so hard not to judge myself, but at the same time, it's been kind of easy because I've been through enough growth here that I'm learning more and more every day how to love myself. And I really see that calling out my own bullshit as an act of self-love. So, the hardest part is admitting that you're not perfect, because the ego protector that I've built, it's there to protect me. He's not a bad dude. He's just trying to protect me. He knows that pain is not pleasant to feel, and he's tried to protect me from pain. And part of it is by building an image. And building that image, I put on masks and pretend that I got things figured out, or pretend that I'm just an upstanding guy in certain areas. And I've built my own stories in life. So one thing that's happened, and I have specific reasons. I do want to be vulnerable, and I'm not afraid to share a lot of things, but this is something that, for a couple specific reasons, I don't want to share the specifics of it. Maybe for other people to some degree too, so that it doesn't cause you any judgment. It'd be hard for some people to accept it. And I'll say that it was pretty damn hard for me to accept something that happened in the last couple months. Actually, it was about a month ago. I did something that I think it's the worst thing I've ever done in my life, when I really wholeheartedly believed my intentions were good. And it left me questioning what is good and who am I really, and just questioning a lot of stories, because in the end, I was able to compare that situation. Man, it was upsetting. All I could say, what I did, man, it was hard to face. The next day, when I realized just the complexity of what had happened and what I did, and that I was fooled by an illusion that may have been created by a story in my own head about what's right. And I realized that we can justify anything. We can justify any point of view, any frame that we want to, with stories, and believe something is good. And so I was able to compare what happened to something earlier in my life, probably 15 years ago, where the situation was very similar, but my justification was opposite. And I believed that what I was going to do was good. Nothing happened that was so upsetting then, but this time, this really did not turn out well, and it hurt people besides myself. The next day, I had some moments to myself where I just cried hysterically and released a lot of emotions, and I couldn't believe that something didn't trigger in my mind to tell me, what you see is not real. This isn't, it's not what you think. And it was humbling. It was a very, very humbling experience. And I realized that I'm just a man. I'm just one dude, and I'm trying, but I got to question everything in life. I got to question everything I believe in. And it was just a really humbling experience. Anyway, it did lead, it just started a chain reaction of things. So I want to go back to basically at the last episode that I recorded. I was talking about needing to move, and that I knew it was going to be necessary. And this whole situation, we did move. We moved. I live in Colorado, and we moved to a town kind of in central Colorado, in between the two biggest cities in Colorado, and we moved into a situation that just seems amazing. It still does right now, but my life has been kind of an exercise in the old Chinese parable of maybe, or the farmer and the horse. If you've ever heard it, if you haven't, I'm gonna go over it real quick. But there was a farmer, and he had a horse, and his horse got loose one day and ran away. And his neighbors came over, and they're all like, "Man, I'm so sorry. This is such a terrible misfortune." And he said, "Maybe." And then a couple days later, the horse comes back, and it had made friends with 7 wild horses, and they came with him. And the neighbors come, they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're so lucky. Now you have 8 horses." He says, "Maybe." And then a few days later, his son's trying to break one of the wild horses. He gets bucked off and breaks his leg, and the neighbors come, they're all like, "Oh my gosh, this is so unfortunate, such a terrible disaster." And he goes, "Maybe." And then a few days later, the army comes, and they're trying to recruit able bodies, and they came for his son. His son's got a broken leg, and he can't go. And the neighbors come, and they're like, "Oh, you're so lucky that," and he goes, "Maybe." Well, this place that we moved to, it really is an amazing place. But at first it just seemed so divine and God-given. And then this thing that happened that I created, that I was already mentioning, it kind of, it threw a stick in the spokes of what was going on there. And this place didn't feel comfortable for a little bit. But now it's back, and it's back to what it felt like before. It feels like quite a blessing. And so moving for me was a very hard thing, because there was a lot of safety and security in the old house, the place that I'd lived there for 12 years. And I first moved in there when I was still married, and I thought we had a great marriage. Everything, it felt like such a good place to be. And then the divorce came, and a lot of pain, and then the healing. And with healing, there's a lot of pain in healing if you face it. And there's it creates darkness. That healing creates a sort of darkness. And there is balance in everything in life, and that darkness is necessary. If you're facing the pain, you willingly go through darkness to get to the light. And that just illustrates the balance in life, the yin and the yang. It's necessary. That darkness isn't bad, but to really go where I believe God's taking me, I needed to move on from that. There was a darkness there in that house for me after all of the healing, that in a lot of ways it wasn't comfortable, but I still felt safe. And so when I'm pushing to heal and grow, I've noticed that sometimes I resist the change that's necessary, because I feel secure and safe in familiarity. And that place was familiar, so I was really resisting for a while moving. With everything in me, I knew it was necessary, but man, I just did not want to do it. We're looking at houses, and nothing felt right. And then this place came up. It was like God threw something. Oh, okay, fine. You're not gonna willingly want to do it. We're gonna throw something at you that'll look like just amazing, like the part of the parable. It's, this is so lucky and fortunate. Sure, maybe. We move here, and then that other event happens and really put a kink in all of that for a minute. And it's opened up so many lessons and so many avenues of growth. I've been opening doors left and right in that hallway. And one of the things that came up was, after what happened, like I mentioned, I I hurt other people with my actions. What happened? The event, it's an event. It was a finality in that event, that something that could never go back. And I was devastated that I couldn't see the truth in it in the moment. But I couldn't. It's just is what it is. I'm one man, I'm just one dude, and I'm trying. So in the end, there were apologies made, and the people that it had to do with our landlords at the new place, because we're renting this place, and I'm renting out my old house to someone else. And the landlords, right at first, they're kind of upset for a minute, and then they were kind of like, we can move on, we can forgive you. And then I had a really hard time forgiving myself. Like, I could not, it took a lot for me to accept what had happened and realize I'm just not perfect. I'm just not perfect. And so sometimes I think situations like that come up, and you have to accept what's happened and move on and love and forgive yourself, even though what happened was not perfect. And so as I had a hard time accepting it, even though they'd stated we can move on, at one point they even made an excuse for me for what had happened. I'm like, I can't accept that. I said that out loud to him. I said, I can't accept that excuse. And the landlord, he said, well, that's just something you're going to have to work through. And then it's amazing what happened after that. I swear, sometimes God blinds people in my periphery to their own actions in order to test me. And it's not their fault. And so what happened after that, it felt like they were taking out things on my kids. They're just certain behaviors and actions that I was like, I eventually felt like I had to face it. And that brought up something that I'd been working on in my heart in my healing for a little bit. Something that came up. I actually wrote some things down in my notes about it. So I'm going to just read what I'd written about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And it really related, and then it created a whole scenario where I had to do this. And in fact, 2 scenarios. And the scenarios went 2 different directions, but the energy that was there, I'll go over that in a minute. What I wrote in my little journal notes, I wrote, I've always wanted to feel seen, known, and understood. Today I was questioning why. Basically, now I see myself honoring myself and my own feelings, wishes, and desires, and not caring what others think about it, as well as not desiring to explain myself. If they don't get it or see where I'm coming from, then screw them. They probably deserve to be confused. This is, the focus isn't on the screw them, because that's not really love, and that's not the point of what I wrote here. The point was, the love is self-love. It's something I've never been able to do in my life. It's been very hard. From the very first episode where I described that duckling incident, that just, it wrecked me. There was a death there for me, and my whole life's been about getting back to loving myself and figuring out how to do this. And this is a big step in that. So I was always people pleasing, never wanting to rock the boat for fear that it might sink, i.e. they'll be displeased or reject me. Now I say, if they don't see me without me seeking to please them and earn their approval, then I'm stuck in a boat with people who will never see or respect me anyway. Why do I want them to like me? when maybe I should be questioning whether I would even like them if I wasn't so focused on wanting them to like me. That's kind of a funny little thing. Maybe I wouldn't like them. And I've noticed that more often I'm realizing when I'm stuck in those boats with people who I don't really like, and I'm learning to honor myself, this situation really brought that into full view. It's kind of like that whole boat analogy. It feels like I'm stuck in a boat and someone else is driving, and I'm playing Mr. Nice Guy, hoping that they'll like me and eventually have mercy on me. I realize the boat's not going where I'm wanting to go, but I'm hoping if I don't rock it and piss them off, they're driving, or if I get them to like me, maybe they'll have enough sympathy or whatever to take me eventually where I want to go. And I'm just realizing when I'm in that boat, more and more I'm realizing that it's never going to go where I want to go. Their intentions are not to do that. And so basically I'm having the attitude now that instead of being afraid to rock the boat, I'm like, I'm sinking this bitch and I hope you can swim, motherfucker. So it's kind of an act of self-love. At the same time, it's a lesson of hopefully the goal is going to be eventually to recognize that that's not a boat I want to get in the very first place. That's not a boat that I want to get in. But there's an energy here that I need to embrace and be able to incorporate into my tools. It's always something that's in me if I ever find myself in that boat, that I'm not going to sit there and hope for the best. I'm going to make something, I'm going to sink it. If that's what it comes to, I'm going to sink it. And so a couple weekends ago, with this whole scenario that I was describing, I had to make a confrontation. And going into the weekend, I was at work, and man, there was a lot of heaviness because I knew I was facing two different scenarios, that one and another one with my daughter, and I knew it was all about that energy, that not putting up with this. It wasn't toward my daughter. It was something she was going through, and I had to kind of help and be involved in a way. She did it, but just coaching her on, it's amazing. With my kids, I'm often find myself coaching them on things that I'm learning at the very moment. And at the same time, then I often see where it feels like as I coach them or bring these things up, their hearts, their minds, they're just way more advanced than I am. They're more ready for this than I am. They're amazing. I don't know how I'm the dad. I think sometimes I learn from them, and then in these situations, they react, they respond, and they handle it, and I'm like, wow, like you handled that better than I would have, and I'm really proud of you. Anyway, went into the weekend knowing I was going to have to face these things, and the two scenarios, one boat got sunk, and the other people could not swim. I'm sure of it. That's over. The scenario's over, and it's a finality. So it kind of goes to the thing that I've heard a lot in my life, and I'm sure you have as well, never burn bridges. Well, I don't agree with that. I don't believe in that. If we really want to move forward, heal, grow, and be moving up in life, why would you want to save security, keep security by not burning old bridges that are never going to serve you again? I'm talking about the type of bridges, I've seen them in my own life, where if everything fails and I'm scared and I got no other options, I can always go back to this abusive type of situation. And those are the bridges I'm referring to. I'm going to burn those things. I want to move forward with boldness, faith, confidence. There's a certain type of man that I want to be. And the type of man that I want to be is not going to depend on those bridges that go back to dark places. I'm going to move forward in life and create new places. Anyway, so one of those scenarios ended up sinking the boat, burning the bridge. And the other scenario, I really believe just God honored, or the universe honored, that I had this energy, that I was willing to rock that boat, and I didn't care what the consequences were. If it burned a bridge, we'll move on, we'll figure this out. And when I went into it with that, I made a little confrontation. I said, hey, I made a big mistake. And it was a weird situation because what I already mentioned, man, I did the hurting. But then when I was unwilling to forgive myself for a little bit, judging myself, then they kind of reverted back into a unforgiving and judgment as well. And the way that I was beating myself up, they mirrored that. They're beating me up like psychologically. It's very subtle. It wasn't like they were hitting me with a hammer or anything. But then it started carrying over to my kids. And I saw that my kids were suffering. And some of the confrontation had to be toward them. But some of it had to do with myself. Okay, get over it. And get over it. You made a big mistake. It was in a lot of ways an honest mistake and a learning point. So let's forget what's behind and let's move forward. Forgive yourself. No, you're not perfect. Embrace that imperfection. Embrace that imperfection and love yourself anyway. It's one of the hardest things to do when you see your own crap, is to continue to love yourself, forgive yourself, and not judge yourself. Well, for me, that's what I've found. Anyway, so when I made the confrontation, I was just like, hey, my kids didn't make a mistake. I did. And I can't change it. And I'm not okay with this. And then I think that also triggered in me, it was a flip. It made me say to myself, okay, I know I made a mistake, but I don't care. And when I did that, all of this energy just flipped at the same time, and everything went back to normal. And it went back to, it feels like they're very forgiving of what happened, and everything's like back to, the whole maybe thing with, oh my gosh. It's like, oh, this was so wonderful. Maybe. Oh my gosh, this is terrible. This tragic event. Maybe. And then this comes and now it's like, oh, this is great again. Maybe. Like, I'm waiting for the next maybe. That's life. I'm waiting for the next maybe. Well, thank you for listening this week, and I'm just going to give you a little heads up or preview. The next episode I do, I'm going to talk about living out loud in my intentions, and basically putting them out there where I'm not hiding from a fear of rejection or abandonment, but I'm actually just unapologetically putting my intentions or my feelings out there in certain situations. And one of the things that I've been thinking about lately is I'm kind of considering going into life coaching. I have a really good job right now, but it's not my passion necessarily, and it's a good situation for me for now, but I just want to be doing what I feel in my heart, just feel a passion and energy in. And hopefully you can feel my energy. Hopefully there be people out there that might want to do some coaching with me. I need coaching. I'm going to do some things for myself where I'm being coached, but at the same time, maybe I help someone else in a separate situation. So, anyway, thank you for listening, and I will see you next week.